Hello, everybody. Just give us a sec. We're going to have a few more people joining us from the waiting room.
And Sophia, you may need to turn the waiting room off. I don't seem to be able to from here.
No problem. Got it. So welcome, everybody. Hi. We are going to be talking today about the summer research opportunities through Undergraduate Research Hub, and we're going to be spotlighting a program called the UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars Program. My name is Dr. Sophia Taineri, and I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kirsten Kung. We're really excited to have everyone here.
Yes. All right. So moving on. So we're going to talk to you just about at least our programs, and many of the questions that we receive from students are there research opportunities that are a good fit for me? And the short answer to that is really yes. We have research opportunities that are available to all kinds of research fields. We have research opportunities that are available to all levels of research experience, whether you have research, like a lot of research experience or zero research experience. We do have opportunities available at all different class standings, whether you're a first year or you're a transfer student or you're a senior about to graduate later this year. There's a lot of different opportunities available. And we do even have opportunities available to students from all different citizenship statuses, whether you're a citizen from the US or an international student, and everything in between. And we do have opportunities that are available to people that have all different kinds of education and career goals, whether you plan on just finish here as an undergraduate with a bachelor's degree, or if you want to go on for additional education beyond that.
I also want to mention that we have opportunities that are available for students who already have a mentor and for students who don't yet have a mentor. So that was one of the questions that we received quite a bit of, was whether or not you need to have a mentor. And there are some programs where it's fine if you don't yet have a mentor.
Thanks for pointing that out.
So we'd like to talk a little bit about what a summer research program is like. A number of different institutions have summer research programs, and a lot of them have a number of similar elements. So we're going to talk a bit about what summer research looks like. Most summer research programs have a very strong element of faculty mentored research. This means that you would be working directly with a faculty mentor and also with other people in the research groups. So sometimes a postdoc or a graduate student working on the research itself. These programs tend to also have quite a bit of professional development activities. So it's things like seminars and workshops on ethics or on research communication, career paths, things along those lines. Our summer research program includes some things along the lines of a library training, and some of the programs offer a GRE preparation course.
Additionally, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sophia.
Additionally, there are a lot of other things that are part of a summer research program. Many students don't think about it, but there's great networking opportunities with not just your own cohort with the students that are in the same program, but also there's chances to get to know students within other programs that are also in a similar setting for the summer research, but you can also get to know faculty. So it's a lot of opportunities for you to get to know many different kinds of people. There should be some social events. Sometimes there's community building type events. And at least at our conference or at our program, we host the Summer Research Conference every year, which is a great opportunity for students to present the work they've been working on all summer.
We've also gotten some questions in terms of whether the program is likely to be an in-person program or not. We do anticipate that it'll be an in-person program this year. Of course, the safety of the students is one of our top priorities, and so we'll be following along to what the relevant health authorities and experts say. And just know that if we do end up needing to have any components of the program be remote, we have done fully remote programs, we've done hybrid programs, and we are able to do it in a way that still leads to a very successful and worthwhile program for the students and the mentors. So again, right now we're anticipating that it will be in person, but if that ends up changing, it will still be a great experience. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the benefits of doing research during the summer. It's a great opportunity to delve into a specific topic in depth. You really have the time to focus on it and get really immersed in the topic. You don't need to be worried about other competing concerns like taking classes or jobs or things along those lines. Programs are a full-time commitment, so you're not allowed to take outside classes or work. And so it's great because it really does let you get that in-depth experience. You also receive a stipend. This means that you get paid to be into the program. So participating in the program allows you to be paid. Some of the programs offer housing support. So this might take the form of either on-campus housing or sometimes a housing allocation. And some of the programs also offer course credit in the form of a 199 credit.
And I see there's a quick question in the chat. I'm going to mention it verbally, but also type it in. Someone asked, is the PowerPoint going to be distributed? And we do intend to send the slides to all registered participants. So if you registered for this, you should be able to get an email with a link to these slides. All right. And so I think we want to talk a little bit about generally the summer research program here at UC San Diego. And that's the name of the summer program that encompasses many different opportunities under one umbrella. SRP is under the Undergraduate Research Hub, which is where Kirsten and I work. And so this is at least some of the programs that we expect to be here for the summer. There might be a few others added to this list as we go on. But as far as we know, we do have these programs that are listed, California Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, also known as CAMP. There's another program called Make Your Mark Summer Fellowship. There's one named the Mariam Ahmadian Memorial Summer Fellowship Program for Research in Metabolism. There's the McNair Scholars Program, which is actually a 9-month program. It actually begins now in winter quarter and goes all the way through summer. So it's a little bit different than most of the other programs. The one that we're spotlighting today will be the UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars programs. Those are actually 2 programs, but we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a few moments. There's also the TRELS program, which is the Triton Research and Experiential Learning Scholars program. And there's the Undergraduate Research Scholarships, URS. There may be more, but that's at least some of the programs that we expect to be part of the SRP this summer.
Yes, our office is always working to develop new programs. And so I think that there may be more is kind of a highlight of things yet to come. And I think at this point, Dr. Sai was going to show a graphic that provides more information about these programs. We will be talking about how to apply for each of these programs. So that's going to be part of the presentation in just a little bit. This at a glance document is something that's available through our website, and we'll also link to it at the end of this presentation. And we wanted to highlight this so that you could see that there's an easy way to find out information about the various programs that we offer. So down the left, it gives the name of the program. There's a hyperlink to go to each individual program's page. The information includes the application deadline or time frame, the program terms, so how long it goes. Today, we're talking about summer research programs. We also have programs during the academic year. The items in blue are eligibility requirements. So as you're looking at the different programs, you'll want to make sure that you're applying to programs for which you're eligible. So some of them might have citizenship eligibility criteria. Some of them have a minimum GPA. Academic standing is one that occurs. Please note that when it talks about the standing, that's based on the number of units that you have passed. So if it says junior standing, that means that you need 90 units or above. Anyone who transferred here already has 90 units. So if you transferred, you're considered to already have at least junior standing. If you're in your first year here at UC San Diego, but you took a lot of AP tests or have some other units, you may already have junior standing. It also indicates that there are, whether or not there are any other eligibility requirements. The second page of the at a glance document goes a little more in depth in terms of how to apply. So the application requirements include information about whether you need a research proposal or not. For example, some of the programs ask that you provide a research proposal, others don't. It also provides information about what might be needed in terms of a letter of recommendation or an endorsement from a faculty member. Importantly, it indicates whether or not you need a mentor. So all of these programs involve research with a mentor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a mentor before applying to the program. And then the final blue columns address some of the perks of being in the program. So again, this is on our website. It's also something that we'll link to at the end of today's talk, and we will also send it out when we send out the slides, but we wanted to show it to you so that you could get a sense of this easy to look at table that helps kind of differentiate between the programs. One final note on this second page here, we noticed as we were preparing that there's a few things that are mislabeled. So on our website, we will try to get those, the labels corrected as quickly as possible. In the far column, for example, you can see that it says UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars at the bottom, even though the left column is labeled as McNair. So we'll get that all taken care of. But this at a glance is intended to give you an easy way to see what the different programs offer and how they differ.
And one thing I wanted to point out, because we did get a question about this earlier, was when are these due? And so just note that in this at a glance, you can kind of take a quick look at this, but do know that a lot of these do have deadlines in February. So that's not that far away. UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, which is the one that we'll focus on today, is actually going to be due February 1st. So only a few weeks away, which is why we're meeting so soon, because we wanted to make sure we got the word out and you know about this particular program due to its earlier deadline. But there will be some other ones that have upcoming deadlines, so just keep those in mind. All right, getting back to our talk. All right, next slide. Okay, so as I mentioned, we will be focusing a bit more on the UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars programs. And these are actually two different programs that are run as sister programs. I'll let my colleague Kirsten talk a little bit more about the UC Scholars program. I'll talk about the Genentech Scholars program after she does.
Sounds great. Yeah. So I'm the coordinator of the UC Scholars program. As Dr. Steiner mentioned, the applications for these programs are due on February 1st. So that's coming up. The letter of recommendation, which I'll talk about in a moment, isn't due until February 8th, however. So just be aware of that. These programs do offer a stipend. The stipend for the UC Scholars program, which is an 8-week program, is $3,000, and it's $3,500 for the Genentech Scholars program, which is a 10-week program. Both of the programs include either on-campus housing or a housing allowance if you choose to live off campus. The on-campus housing does not include a meal plan or parking, however. We offer a GRE preparation course. You have the opportunity to build a strong relationship with a mentor as you do research with that person. You also gain experience presenting research and working in your field of interest. They both have a minimum GPA requirement of 2.8. They do both require a letter of recommendation, and this letter does not need to be from the person with whom you'll be doing research. So we often have students who haven't had much time at UC San Diego yet, or just for whatever reason haven't had a chance to get to know a UC San Diego faculty member, and that's fine. You can get a letter of recommendation from a faculty member at your community college if you're a transfer student, or from somebody else. We really want the letter of recommendation to be from somebody who knows you well enough to give a good sense of why this program is a good opportunity and a good fit for you. The programs both ask students to commit to 30 hours per week of research. And there's roughly about 10 hours per week of professional development activities. So in both of those instances, because it is a full-time endeavor, you're not allowed to take classes other than you receive a 199 course credit. So other than that course, you're not allowed to take classes, and you're also not allowed to work outside of the program. The programs are open to students of all citizenship statuses and all levels of research experience. So every year we have some students who have never done research before and some students who have done quite a bit in between. Dr. Steineri talked about.
I think Dr. Kung is having a little bit of trouble with internet, but I believe she passed it over to me. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the differences between the two programs. And so one of the major differences really is the area of focus. The Genentech Scholars Program is funded by a corporation called Genentech, which is a biotechnology company. So their interest is for students that are in life science or biotechnology fields and research projects. The difference for UC Scholars is it's open to all majors. So it doesn't matter what your background, what your major is, you would be eligible for UC Scholars. But for Genentech, it's a little bit more of a narrow focus. And I do see a question, does the 90 credits requirement refer to UC credits only, or does it include other credits? It includes all of the credits that you have coming in, including transfer credits, anything you may have had through maybe AP classes that you've taken. So all of those count together, and it's just your class standing junior level. And I see another question that was sent to me directly that said, can our faculty mentor and the letter recommendation writer be the same person? And yes, that can certainly be the same person. If you are already doing research, we actually think it's a great idea to have your faculty mentor be the person that writes your letter. Of course, for students that don't have a person that they're already doing research with, it may be a little bit more difficult to figure out who that person is, but we do tend to look for people that can talk about your ability to do research or your ability to participate in a program like this, your interest in, can't think of the right word, but your interest in participating in a program like a summer research program or UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, things like that.
And while we're talking about mentors, as you saw on the at a glance document, some of the programs do require that you have a mentor in advance and or that the letter come from the faculty mentor. So just be aware that there's differences between the programs. Make sure that as you're looking at the programs, you're paying attention to what's required for that particular program. For students who don't yet have a mentor, we will work with you and help you find one. And so again, if you have a mentor, if you've already been doing research, that's fantastic. And as Dr. Steineri mentioned, it's great to have the letter of recommendation come from the person with whom you've been doing research. If you haven't been doing research, if you don't have a mentor, that's no problem. And it's not a problem either in terms of the letter of recommendation or in terms of the application itself.
Exactly. And I think hopefully that kind of answers one of the questions we got earlier about how does it work if you don't have a mentor when you're applying. You can get a letter of recommendation from somebody else. And then with regards to the actual program itself, we will work with you if you don't have a mentor by the time you get accepted to the program to find a mentor for you ahead of summer. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. I did get another question just now about that, just to confirm, we don't need a mentor ahead of time. And that is one of the great benefits of applying to these programs is we don't expect you to have a mentor. If you have one, great. But if you don't, we'll talk a little bit more in the questions, but we ask you kind of like, have you explored some people that you might be considering to work with? And if you could just, list some names, that kind of idea. So we'll get into that a little bit more later, but yes, you do not need a mentor ahead of time before applying. You do need a letter writer, but that letter writer does not need to be your mentor. And I did get one more question privately that asked, how competitive is the selection process? And I'll kick that over to you, Kirsten.
Okay, thank you. So that's something that varies from year to year. It's basically determined by the number of applications that we get. We are always trying to get additional funding so that we can support as many students as possible. But for this year, it looks like we will likely have 8 students in the Scholars Program. And Sophia, how many in Genentech?
We should be expecting about 6 for Genentech Scholars.
Okay, so between the two programs, it'll be about 14 positions. In the past, we've gotten there. Most years we've had close to or over 100 applicants. So there are quite a few students for a relatively small number of spots. We do encourage students to apply to as many different programs for which they're eligible as possible. So we kind of talked about a number of different programs. please do apply both to the UC Scholars Program and to the URS program and to the TRELS program. Apply widely because that increases your chances of getting accepted into any given program. And I think we'll be talking about this more in just a few minutes, but don't hesitate to apply widely. If you are accepted to more than one program, you can only accept one offer, but we do expect that students will be applying to more than one program. Also, don't be overly concerned about whether it's competitive or not, or don't feel like, oh, I don't have any experience, so I probably am not a strong candidate. Again, these programs really want to have students from a wide range of backgrounds. So we want some students who have no experience, and we want some students who have quite a bit of experience. So please don't feel that because of something like that, you might not be a strong candidate.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to underscore what Dr. Kang just said, because we are looking for students from all kinds of backgrounds, experience levels, citizenship statuses, all of that. So we want a range and we will do our best to have a mix of students from all different backgrounds. And we ask a little bit about that in the application. So we'll look into that in just a moment. And maybe that will give you kind of a sense of what we're looking to ask and how that might be ways for you to answer. So I think at this point, are we switching over to the application portal?
I think there's one more slide that talks about a competitive application. So this is kind of a nice transition because those are some of the issues that we've been talking about. Obviously, you want to put your best foot forward, whether it's applying to this or any other opportunity. So there's a few things that you can do that can help put you in the best possible light. One is make sure that you meet all eligibility requirements. Each scholarship or opportunity has different requirements, so just make sure that you're fulfilling those eligibility requirements. Also, understand the goal of the program or programs to which you're applying so that you can describe how you're a good fit. Some of the programs are geared towards slightly different things, and so you want to make sure that you're applying programs for which you're a good fit. That helps you in the application talk about why you're interested in that specific program. And sometimes there's two different programs perhaps that have slightly different foci or slightly different emphasis, and you might be interested in elements of each. That's completely fine. You might be at a point where you don't really know what the next step holds for you. Make sure in your application that you're describing why the program that you're applying to would be a good fit for you, what makes you interested in it. You don't need to say, oh, and I'm also completely interested in this other thing as well. We just want to make sure that you're applying to something that would be a good fit. Anytime that you're writing a personal statement or responding to short answer questions, make sure that it's clear, that it expresses your passion. We love to see students who are really excited about the idea of doing research, even if they haven't done it before. So make sure that that comes across. Get feedback. It mentions personal statement, but some of these applications focus on multiple short answer questions. So the same holds true for those. Get feedback from others. Sometimes you write something and it makes perfect sense to you and it's crystal clear, and then somebody else reads it and it's not quite as clear as you think it might be. Particularly after you've been working on it for a while, it's hard to take a step back and see what it comes across or how it comes across. Be sure to use resources like the Writing Hub. The Writing Hub is a resource here on campus. It's fantastic. They offer all sorts of feedback to students, so we really encourage you to make use of that. We will be having a session with the Writing Hub in conjunction with them, so kind of stay tuned for more information about that. In terms of letters of recommendation, determine who might be a good letter writer for you and contact that person as early as possible. You want somebody who can really address your strengths, who knows you well enough to give some detailed information. It needs to be not only a positive letter, but a strong letter. You don't want somebody who will simply say, oh yes, this student was in my class and she earned an A, or he always sat in the front of the class. That's great, that's a good thing, but we want to know a little bit more about you from the letter writer. So try to select somebody who would know a bit more about who you are, why you want to do research, that sort of thing. And then find a mentor if you will be applying to programs that require you to have one in place. Again, for UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars, you do not need to have a mentor in place, but for some of the programs you do. And we have a recording on our website, on the Undergraduate Research Hub website, that talks about how to go about finding a mentor. So I encourage you to look at that as well.
All right, so I think at this point we're transitioning over to the application site. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars website. I know many students might be visiting our website here to learn more about our programs, but we do have a link directly to the application here. And so if you do click on this, you'll go to what we call the academic work site, because that's the third-party site that hosts our applications for all of the URH programs and other programs. Here you can kind of take a look a little bit. It is a bit small, so let's make that bigger. But you can take a look and understand a bit more about the programs. This should reflect similar wording as to what's on the website as well, but it might be all in one location. And this should link back to that site too if you haven't been there before. We have some tentative dates for the two different programs. I think one of the things I mentioned earlier is there's some differences, and the UC Scholars is a little bit shorter. It is 8 weeks, and Genentech Scholars is 10 weeks. And so these are some expected dates for the program that we have. And so just as a reminder, again, the deadline will be February 1st, and the letters of recommendation can come in all the way through February 8th, end of the day, Pacific time. And so please make sure that you notify your letter of recommendation writer so that they do submit it by that deadline. It's your responsibility to make sure that it's in. It's not something that we'll try to be chasing you down for, but if you can make sure your letter writer knows, I would just strongly emphasize the date for them. And so going into the application, we do have some questions here. I think I'll come back to this in just a moment because I want to show you once you want to log in, the first thing you actually see is a general application. So if you're logging in here, you press this big yellow button and you'll sign in with SSO.
Can I just have you back up for just 1 second?
Sure.
On the previous screen, up in the upper right-hand corner is where you'll see a little yellow button that says sign in. Sometimes students miss that. So you'll come from our website, you'll come to this screen, and then you click on that sign in button.
Right. And actually, if you're looking at it on a mobile device or an iPad, this actually might be at the very bottom. So just kind of keep an eye out where that is. But it should be this gold button that says sign in. And so from there, you do click on single sign on. For students, you would do single sign on. I'm a staff member, so we're going to log in this way and it will look slightly different. We will do dual login as we all need to do. And let me switch roles real quick because I want to become an applicant, as you might see it. But if I become an applicant, this switches over to, you'll first see the general application. And because I filled this out before, it kind of jumps me down ahead. But if you've never been to our application site, the first things it'll ask you are the type of applicant you are, undergrad or graduate student. Hopefully you select undergraduates. And you fill in your information here and go on through this to submit the general application. The next thing that you'll go to would be the undergraduate application. And because again, I filled this out before, it sort of hops me forward. But looking back at the undergraduate application, this is some of the basic demographic information. You put in your address, you put in maybe your citizenship status, your ethnicities. You do have options to decline to state on some of these questions. Just note that if you do choose to select decline to state, that may unallow you to be considered for some opportunities. Not every single program has these requirements, but just so you know that these are options for you. We have information about disabilities. We ask for your PID, your college, different questions like this that are pretty straightforward. Your degree objective. This is actually a question that sometimes confuses students a little bit, but we're just asking for the degree, the final degree that you expect to complete in your lifetime or degrees. So select everything that you think you might be going through. And if that's what you intend, that's what we're looking for here. If you're a first-year student, you can say yes or no here. If you're a transfer student, say yes or no. Fill out corresponding information. And so we ask about your major. If you have multiple ones, you can select multiple. GPA, etc. So there's a lot of questions here. I think that should be pretty straightforward. It doesn't really get deep into an application itself, but it is their undergraduate application that we ask for some basic information. And from this undergraduate application, you'll get to a list, and this list will be recommended opportunities. So
And before we get to that list, I just want to point out to people, if you filled out the general and undergraduate application before, for example, if you've applied to another program through our office, you might go back and make sure that if there's anything that should be updated, that you do that, because most of the information won't change, but sometimes things like addresses or GPAs or things along those lines change. So just glance through it, make sure it's updated.
Right. Thank you for that. Okay, so we get to the recommended opportunities page, which is based off of your answers to that first undergraduate application, and you'll see some different programs listed here. If you do not see UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, for some reason it doesn't show up, you can also look under opportunities all instead of the recommended, and it should show there if you can't find it under recommended. And so if we're browsing through here, we see UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, summer research programs, and it asks you the questions. So to get to that, you hit apply, and it shows you the questions associated with this particular opportunity. And so looking down, the first question that we ask for is the name of your letter writer, your recommender's name, first and last, and email address. And so you would click on add a new reference, put in their name, email, department, and institution or university, because they may not be here at UC San Diego. So wherever it is that they primarily are from, you can mention what that is. If they are maybe from industry, you can also mention that here as well. It's their affiliation maybe. So put that down, whatever that might be. And then this is a question that asks you about any particular...
Let me pop in for just a sec.
Sure.
Just be aware that once you put that information in, the information about your recommender, and then you hit save and keep editing down at the bottom, your recommender will automatically receive a request to submit a letter on your behalf. So you want to talk to that person ahead of time. You don't want them to receive a letter from or an email from us when you haven't asked them about whether or not they could write a letter. So the first step really is to talk to potential letter writers, ask whether they'd be able to do it, and then once you've done that, even if you don't have time to fill out the rest of the application, go to this part and enter that information in and save so that they can receive the information that they need. That will give them the most time to complete their portion of it. And then you can come back and do the rest of your application part later.
Right. And if you don't know who this person is yet, or you're still working it out, you could go on and save answers to other parts of this application and come back to this. But as Dr. Kang mentioned, as soon as you click save and keep editing after you've entered this information, here an email will go out to your letter writer requesting for them to submit a letter on your behalf. We do suggest that you try to do it as soon as possible, but make sure you talk to them first before submitting their name and email here. Okay, going on to the next question. It's just asking about previous programs that you may have participated in. Many of these are UC San Diego programs or other UC programs. So if there are any of these programs that you participated in, feel free to select those. And that's just, for us to know if you participate in other high impact type programs. And you can also select other or none of the above. If there is other, you can answer that here. But it's not a requirement for this program. It's just so that we have an idea of what else you've done. Also, this part is where you select which particular program you want to apply to, whether it's Genentech Scholars or UC Scholars. And so you can just select one or both of the programs, and based on that, we'll consider you for those programs individually. And also, just so you know, the two programs have different review committees. And so what you answer will be sent to both committees if you decide to apply to both programs, but you will be considered separately from the two different committees.
And again, it's just one application for the two programs. And this is where you indicate whether you want to be considered for one or the other or both.
Right. Next question, we ask a bit about your mentor status. And so this is where you kind of tell us, I have no idea who I might be working with. I'd like, some assistance in finding someone. I have some ideas of some people that I might want to work with, some potential people. Or I definitely know who I'm going to be working with. I've been working with them, maybe starting this quarter or starting 2 years ago. But if you know who it is that you want to work with for the summer program, then put down their name and information here and the departments. All right. And then the next question after that is just to kind of get a sense of what area your research will be in. And so we offer you the chance to select one of these just to give us some sense. And then from there, a subfield from these categories. And so maybe you're working in immunology, or maybe you're working in data analytics or robotics or something. Whatever that subfield is, you want to go ahead and put that in here. If there's multiple subfields, you can feel free to put that in as well. This next question asks about any previous research that you've done, and it is not a requirement that you've done any research experience previously, but if you have, we just want to know briefly what is that about. So we just ask for about 100 words to tell us if you've done it, and if not, just go ahead and put in the word no, and it doesn't count against you.
You'll note there are quite a few short answer questions here, but many of them have a fairly expectation. We're not hoping you're going to write essays and essays and essays. We're just really trying to get information about a couple of different things, but really, again, it doesn't need to be extensive. We just want to get some general info.
Right. And
so,
so you know, Dr. Kung, your internet's a little bit unstable.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll let you then go ahead with these next ones.
Okay, great. So the next short answer asks you just kind of what got you interested in your field of interest. Tell us what led you to there. Tell us a little bit more about it, or what makes you passionate about your field, what excites you. So just a little bit, a couple hundred words about that. Next short answer question just asks, why do you want to do summer research? Why do you want to participate in a program like this? Why do you want to participate in this or these programs, whether it's UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, or both? But what do you find especially appealing about these programs? And so another 200 words max. And then the next question, you can choose one of these two different short answers to answer. And it's either the top one or the bottom one. Don't answer more than once. But we're asking you to talk either about past academic achievements or something that's been unique or personally important or challenging in your background. And so you just select one of these two essays to fill out, not both. The next short answer question just asks, why do you want to do research? Any information that help us understand your interest in and your potential for doing research. 200 words again. And another short answer just for us to get a really brief sense, really brief as in 50 words. But just tell us about your future goals, some future degrees that you might want to participate in and your career path that you imagine. It's okay if you don't know what you want to do. If you've got a few things in mind, just give us a quick sense of those few different career paths that you're thinking about. We understand that as undergraduates, you're still figuring a lot of things out right now, but we just kind of want to get a sense of what you were thinking about. One of the goals of the UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars programs is to stimulate interest in graduate school. So we do kind of want to expect some other future degrees beyond the bachelor's, but we just kind of want to see what else there is that you're thinking about. And then beyond that, it's a pretty short answer to which are your top programs. You could be applying to more than 3 programs. So we're just thinking, if you're choosing your top 3, would you select, say, UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, maybe the Charles program, maybe one of the URS programs or the CAMP program, whatever these programs are that you're also applying to at the same time and considering, you can let us know roughly what do you think is your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice. And again, you can apply to more than 3, but we're just wondering what are those top.
And I just want to highlight that putting your choices down here does not constitute applying to those other programs. So what Dr. Saineri is showing you is the application for UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars. So once you hit submit, you will have applied to those programs, but any of the other programs that you list here has a set make sure that you apply to those. Don't assume that this is sufficient.
Right, yes, sometimes students do assume that it already applies them by selecting them here, but this is just for us to get an idea of like, what are your top 3? And you can also select not applying to other programs if you're only applying to one. And then there's a quick question about how did you hear about this application? And finally, if there's anything in your application general or in the program specific application that you want to clarify, we have a box here. And so feel free to write what you want. And we have some examples of what else you might put here, but we're open to you clarifying anything else. And if there's nothing else to clarify, you can leave it blank. So once you feel like everything is done, go ahead and click on finish and submit. And that is the entire application. A lot of short answers, not a one big essay, but I think that it kind of gives us a better sense of what you're into and what you're hoping to get out of the program this summer. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Kung?
No, I think you did a great job of covering it. Again, there are quite a few questions, but we don't intend for that to be overwhelming. We really just had a number of different things that we wanted to find out about the applicants. So don't let that concern you. Just, tackle one question at a time and you can do it. And we don't expect huge essays for each one, just the shorter answers. Also, if you have any questions as you're going through the application, please feel free to reach out to either or both of us and we'd be happy to meet with you. We can't give specific feedback on the answers that you're giving. So you can't, for example, show us your answer and say, does this seem good? Because that isn't fair to all the other students. But the Writing Hub is a place that could do that. And certainly if you have any questions about not quite understanding what we're asking for in the question or having a hard time navigating the application site, absolutely, please reach out to us.
I do see a question that's actually a really great one in the chat. The student says, I have a question about a Salk Institute PI in terms of faculty mentorship. They are counted as associate adjunct professors in the Division of Biological Sciences. Is that okay for the program? And I believe that, actually, would you like to answer, Dr. Kung?
Sure, we have questions along these lines quite a bit. We do need a mentor of record, is the official term, somebody who has an official appointment at UC San Diego on what's called ladder rank faculty. So something like an associate adjunct professor would be fine. Sometimes students ask, oh, I have a grad student who's been working with me as my mentor, or a postdoc who's been working with me as my mentor. That person would not be eligible to serve as the mentor of record, but often what you can do is you would be working with the postdoc and that would be under the supervision of the PI or the professor with whom the postdoc is working. Similarly, sometimes we have people who are at one of the institutions nearby UC San Diego, and they have colleagues at UC San Diego. So it's kind of a joint mentorship where the mentor perhaps doesn't have, the mentor that the student is interacting with the most doesn't have an appointment at UC San Diego, but there's somebody who can serve as a mentor of record who does have an appointment.
In that situation, I would talk to your PI at that other institution, whether it's Salk or something similar, and just say if they might know somebody who might be able to serve as a mentor of record who is at UC San Diego as a ladder rank faculty.
Yeah, and again, if they have a joint appointment, and it sounds like in this case, the person does have a joint appointment, an appointment both at Salk and at UC San Diego, that should be fine. But if it's somebody who does not have any appointment at UC San Diego, then we would need to find a mentor of record.
Right.
Who could serve us, who does have an appointment at UC San Diego.
So we do have a couple of questions that have come in the chat. One that was sent to me directly. The person asked about the section to write down mentors that we would like to work with. And that, I'm just going to scroll back here real quick. I think it's the mentor status question. What is your current mentor status? And so for this particular question, they said there is an option for some people we are interested in, do we need to talk to them in advance before writing them down? And so, Dr. Kung?
I think in a case like that, it never hurts to reach out to somebody. Your writing somebody's name down here will not trigger us contacting that person. We won't contact them and say, oh, so-and-so said that they were going to work with you this summer. The part that happens is in the letter of recommendation. So in the letter of recommendation part, that does automatically trigger something going out to that person. If it's something where you think, oh, I took a class with this person, it was really interesting and I might want to work with them, it's fine to put that down. I do encourage you to go ahead and reach out to the person and just say, I'm interested in doing research and I'm applying to a couple summer programs. I'd love to talk to you more about the opportunities that might be available in your research group. So I encourage you to reach out to that person. You don't need to do it before, after you did the application, but before you hear back as to whether you've been accepted or not. I encourage you to reach out to them because it's a great way to start making connections and to start networking and to give yourself an opportunity to get to know faculty members. So I encourage you to reach out, but rest assured that just putting their name in this box will not cause us to contact them.
Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate that in case there was a little bit of internet funkiness there and you didn't hear everything Dr. Kung said. We encourage you to reach out to the faculty if you have an opportunity, but it is not required to do so before putting their name down here under potential mentors. We just want to see if you have some people in mind. And if you do get to reach out to them and just tell them a little bit more about your interests, that's fantastic. But it's not absolutely required in any sense. And then there's another question. I am an exchange student. Do I have a right to apply for the UC Scholars Program? And I'm hoping Dr.
And
Kung,
I can try to respond to that, although apparently it sounds like I'm having internet issues. It seems fine on my end, so I can't tell when it's coming in and out. So for exchange students, if you are in a situation where you are still going to be a student this summer and eligible to take a 199 course, then you should be eligible for it. But in the past, typically we have not been able to support exchange students. And Dr. Tsaineri, is that the same for Genentech?
yes, Genentech Scholars is the same situation. All right, and one more question that I see in the chat. Do either of these programs require a research proposal to be declared in the application? And I'll let Dr. Kung answer this one and I'll follow up.
Perfect. Yes, for each of these programs, UC Scholars and Genentech Scholars, you do not need to have a research proposal. There is a question that I think asks a little bit about what you think you might want to work on this summer. So we'd love to hear what your ideas are, but it's not a formal proposal and it's not something where you need to have a specific idea of what you would work on. But I'll let Dr. Tsaineri talk about some other programs where that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. So for to reiterate, UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, you do not need to submit a proposal. There are a couple other programs through our office that you do. And so ones that I expect to hear to see a research proposal from are the TRELS program, the Triton Research and Experiential Scholars Learning Program. TRELS will ask for a research project description, which is like a proposal. And then URS, Undergraduate Research Scholarships, will also ask for a proposal. And that's where you say, this is my plan for this program over the summer, this is what I will be doing. But in the case of UC Scholars, Genentech Scholars, that's not required. I believe the CAMP program may be also asking for that for the summer. So if you're interested in applying to the CAMP program, that may also ask for a research project description. Those are all the questions I see in the chat right now. Did you receive any, Dr. Kung?
I did not receive any just directly to me. Are there other? There are. You certainly can feel free to unmute yourselves and ask them that way, or to go ahead and submit them through the chat if you like. I think the other thing that we wanted to encourage people to do is go to our website, which is urh.ucsd.edu, And that provides a lot of information about these programs and other resources that our office offers. And we also have a weekly electronic newsletter that provides information about opportunities that we have and lets you know about upcoming deadlines. It also provides information about other related opportunities, not necessarily offered through our office, but through other offices at UC San Diego and through other institutions. So the newsletter is a great way to stay in touch and find out about a number of different opportunities.
Right. And then also here on this page, when we send you these slides, you'll have these links. But there's a link to the portal that I was just showing you a little bit about earlier. So you should be able to click into that as well if you're interested. But it's also on our website, so feel free to browse the website. But we'll have all of that information when we do send this out to you soon.
And I think the final thing is, were we going to link out to anything else in the chat?
I think we were going to send out the at a glance, perhaps.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have that link available?
Yeah, hold on just one moment.
Okay. And while she's looking for that link, yeah, if anybody else has additional questions, please feel free to ask them. But we don't have any other additional information to share with you right now, at least formally. But we can answer any questions you may have. And at this time, I'm going to stop the recording.